What's going on, everybody? Headphones are doing the same thing again. Goes away. It's always echoing on TikTok. But how's everybody doing? Welcome, everybody. What's up, Elf? How are you? Elf6. How's everybody doing on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok? Who's ready to talk about code, freelance jobs, tech, learning to code, all that fun stuff? What's up, Vishal, Dear Jay, Orlach Arf? What's going on? Welcome, everybody. I'm Jason with DevSlopes. I'm a full stack developer here, primarily working in the MERN stack, Mongo Express, React, and Node. So we're just going to talk about tech and coding. So if you have questions about learning how to code, where to get started, what to do, I'd be happy to address those questions. How's it going, TikTok? Tazneluz. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Thank you, Dear Jay. Thank you for that nice comment. Aluch, if it's boring, you can go join another stream, by all means. But programming is pretty cool. I'm very passionate about it. It's what I do in my spare time. I just study code. I like reading up on React, new technologies, new practices, things like that. So, good stuff. How's it going, everybody on TikTok? We got a few people hopping here on TikTok. What's up, Alfred and Santima21, Mr. XDav? What's up? So Taz has a question. What has the best earning potential freelancer iOS developer? Well, that's a really good question. So both have really good potential. So freelance, sky's kind of the limit, right? Because the way you bid out projects, how you can get in projects, I mean, you can, in some cases, make more doing freelance work than an actual iOS job. But in average, let's see, an average salary for a starting a junior iOS position, I think starts around 75 or 80,000. So traditionally, I mean, and this is going to vary based on your location, but usually iOS and then Android and then web development is kind of the tier. So in my experience, iOS developers of those three technologies is going to make a little bit more. Now freelance. So I did freelance for a couple of years. Doing web development. I had a couple of smaller projects, just kind of quick websites. I charged a minimum of $2,000, and those projects were pretty consistent. Only took a couple of days to do those. But I also landed, a big client, deep pockets, paid out over $100,000 over the course of 9 months. So with that freelance project that I was doing, I was making some pretty good money with that. Now, that cash was split between me and two other developers because this project was huge. I couldn't, take it all on by myself. So I did get some help there. But that's a good question. So Vishal from YouTube asks, it's really hard to get projects from any of the online platforms like Fiverr and Upwork. Any suggestions? So those are great places to start, right? So you could have some type of an online presence. Now, when I was doing freelance, I actually had no idea about Fiverr or Upwork. And so all the work that I found was through networking. And so what I had done is I went to a lot of conferences and networking groups. So groups where like CEOs and business owners and, these tech companies would get together and network. And then I would go and I would talk with them. And that's how I was able to find these clients with a larger budget and then do something a little bit more than just some basic websites. But as far as that's really only my other suggestion is trying to find a networking event. I haven't really done a lot of stuff on those two online platforms, so I don't have a ton of advice there. Welcome, Benny or Beanie, watching from Nigeria. Welcome. Please, I want to know the difference between programming and coding. They're like the same thing. The term is used, together. So some people call it like a software engineer or a software developer or a programmer or a coder. It's all the same thing, really. At the end of the day, it's just writing code. Yeah. Dear Jay says Clubhouse is also a good platform to get projects. I never thought about that. Like, I've used Clubhouse a couple of times for, like, you know, coding things, just to talk about tech and code, but I never thought about, you know, using it to get project. That's awesome. You can also try LinkedIn, you know, network with other business owners, CEOs, and see what kind of stuff you can get in there. I'm gonna hop over here to TikTok. What's going on, TikTok? How's everybody doing? Gap P. Vieira. Hey, I just finished HTML, CSS, and finishing JavaScript. Now in Code Academy, I feel lost though. What's next? But, Gabe, I completely understand. So I'm a self-taught developer. I did that whole route, and it's easy to get lost. I think Code Academy is good for a good introduction to code, but everything there, I've done it before. It's not even practical. All right. It's just a good starting place to kind of get your brain, you know, thinking in code, or at least having an idea and a concept of what it is. But if you want some more guidance and direction, you can go to devslopes.com/apply. So that's where I work. I'm a full stack developer here at DevSlopes, and I'm also a mentor and a coach for students learning how to code. I work with them to learn how to code, to land freelance projects, to get paid. I do career coaching, and you know, I work with you until you land work, until you get paid. So that's devslopes.com/apply. But to also address that question, you're doing the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Once you're proficient in JavaScript, and that means you can write code that can actually think and do something, I would choose a front-end technology like React or Vue, and then dive into that. And then from there, you know, it's going to move into back-end, but as a next step, get proficient in JavaScript, and then choose a front-end technology. All right, Fazdank, thoughts on PHP? People say it's dying. So thoughts on PHP. This is opinionated. I'm going to try to be unbiased here. Okay. So PHP, there is a lot of companies that are still using PHP under the hood. It's still widely used in a lot of things. It definitely is an older technology. So a lot of businesses have like legacy code. They might have a legacy project with PHP, but a lot of these companies are moving into a more modern technology as well. But that doesn't mean PHP is obsolete. Like, I was a full stack developer at Dell for several years, and the project that we were building was done in React. It was the MERN stack, Mongo Express, React, and Node. So that's the tech stack we were working with. Now, PHP has its time and its place. I personally think I don't like it. All right. To be forward, I'm not saying it's bad. Me personally, Jason, I do not like PHP. I think it has a really gross syntax to it. It's not human readable. PHP 8 is good. I believe it might be. I haven't kept up on PHP for a while. Your mom is, that's a funny username. Your mom is a fatty. All right. What did you ask here? Let's see. How much can I make with freelance, like let's say a CRUD with simple functions and login system? Okay, so that is a super broad question, because at the end of the day, it's all about the scope of work. If, like, let's see, a CRUD application, there's so many other factors to bring in, like other complexities. Let's see. I'm trying to think. So, okay, so here's an idea. So I landed a client, and it was a CRUD app, create, read, update, delete. Okay, so it had a backend, and it had user accounts, and it had other data, and was managing things. And it was a decently sized project. It wasn't insanely complex, but this project, over the course of 9 months, the client paid out $100,000. So that was a project that me and 2 other developers took on as freelancers. All right. So software projects, yes, they definitely pay more than a static website. That's why it's always good to network and try to land a software project instead of a website project. Software pays out more. But I mean, what's the size of the backend, like the database? All right. How complex is the database? What technology are you using for the database? I mean, all of those are going to factor into the complexity of some of the applications and the full features of what it entails. So YouTube, I'm going to get to you in just a second. I'm going to finish up some questions here on TikTok. Let's see. I'm literally learning Python right now. That's awesome. Are you learning Python? What's your motive? Are you learning it because people say it's cool? Or are you learning it because people say that's what you should do? Or are you learning it because your programming goals are you want to do something with scripting, you want to write backends in Python, you want to do AI, machine learning, things like that? Like, what is your purpose for choosing Python? Let's see. You ask another question, how much should I charge for an average project? It depends. It completely depends on what you're doing. Me personally, when I was freelancing, if I did a static website, just a plain static website with a contact form, my minimum that I charged was $2,000. It was not worth my time working with clients and their neediness and all that shenanigans for anything under $2,000. Sandy Arf, I am learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript from Coursera. Oh, where did this question go? Just there it is. Is it worth paying $80 to get the certificate? I haven't done anything with for a long time. I mean, the real question is, do you feel like Coursera is even teaching you the skills that you need to be successful in freelancing or the job market? I mean, some of their content I imagine is good, but I don't know the depth of their stuff or even if it's worth it. I mean, if you asked me, is it worth it to go to college for a computer science degree? Absolutely not. I think it's 100% waste of money. You don't need, college to learn how to code. I'm a self-taught developer, and from being self-taught, teaching myself how to code, I ended up working at Dell as a full stack engineer for several years. And I didn't have any certificates under my belt. I didn't have a computer science degree. I just, learned how to code. I got a few paid client projects under my belt, put that on my portfolio, and, Dell computers picked me up. Let's see, KO. Let's see. Not sure what happened, but Nathan, our career counselor, never showed up to our meeting. Send him an email. See what's up. I'll even ping him for you. I mean, you have to give me a name or something. But email him, nathan@devslopes.com, and see, what the heck's up. Sorry about that. That's not common for that to happen, unless for some reason you didn't confirm your appointment, because we get so many applicants that we're only, taking calls and scheduling these meetings if, the confirmation was made and followed up with. So let's see. Okay, TikTok. I'm going to take some questions here from YouTube. What do we have going on here? Okay, wow, there's a lot of questions here. Let's see. All right, let's start here. Let's see, there's that. So Jack Reacher, dang Jason, you got a new haircut and I didn't even recognize you. You look like a new man. That's awesome. Yes, I tamed the mullet. The mullet was getting just out of control. I had to tame that beast. The party in the back was too much partying for me. I couldn't handle it. So yes, I tamed it for sure. Let's see, Evolve. Let's see, what are your thoughts on being stoned while coding? I don't know. I've never experienced that. What do you think has the most job opportunities, web, Android, or iOS development? That's going to be area specific. all right, based on your city, the location, kind of what jobs are out there. I would say in general, web development has a broader market. At the same time, because there are so many web developers and the market is so big for it, web developers traditionally out of those three technologies are paid the least. All right, iOS and Android, because it's more of a niche market and it's kind of harder to find those type of developers, they tend to make more than a regular web developer. Now, when my first motive to get into programming, to learn how to code, I wanted to, hands down, be an iOS developer. That's what I wanted to do. All right. And I also knew that they made really, really good money. But once I got into programming, my first taste with coding was actually web development. And then I did, transition over into iOS, and I tested that out for a while. I just, for some reason, really preferred web development. There was something about it, especially React. I just fell in love working with React. And, I just, even though iOS developers make more, I wanted to choose a technology that I seriously enjoyed. And I found that with React. All right. Abdu, can I learn data science and web development at the same time? I mean, sure, you could. I wouldn't overwhelm yourself trying to learn much. I would pick one of them. I mean, both of them have their subtle similarities, but also at the same time, their subtle differences. And so both of them, you need to do programming and stuff. Holy crap. Hold on, YouTube. I don't have my mic next to my face. Sorry if you couldn't hear me. Yeah, so I mean, you could, but I would honestly just choose a single technology and become proficient in that before you start, bunny hopping to these other technologies. I don't even know if bunny hopping is a term that people use. I just kind of came out of my mouth there. CR Studio, what is the best resource for React? How did you learn it? So so my learning experience, it probably took twice as long than it could have if I had some type of mentor or a coach. But when I first learned React, it started with a few YouTube tutorials, but then it got to the point where YouTube tutorials were just kind of all over the place. And so I literally went to the React website, reactjs.org, and I did exactly everything that they said to do in the docs. So I went through the tutorials, I read the documentation, because when I was finding these other tutorials online and YouTube, I just found this difference in the way that people were coding, and I wanted to understand where's the line here? Is this a good React practice, or is this somebody's opinion and their way and style of learning to code? And so I just went straight to the documentation on the React website, and that's where I, really solidified what React is, what are the good and best practices, and then I started building project. I stopped watching tutorials, and I Googled good project ideas to build for React, and then I built those without tutorials. But one of the cool things is here at DevSlopes, I'm an instructor and mentor for the Web Academy at DevSlopes. So I teach React. And the cool thing is, I think being a self-taught developer, my approach to teaching, I struggled a lot trying to learn on my own. And so I do my absolute best from teaching from a standpoint, because I understand what it's like to be a self-taught developer. And so I kind of teach from that point of view to help steer directions in a very clear, specific direction. But yeah, we teach React here. I would be, honored to work with you and help teach you to learn how to code. You can go to devslopes.com/apply, and you'll get set up with a free career coaching call from our guy, Nathan. All right, practical ways to get clients as a freelancer. That seems to be a common question. You could try Upwork or Fiverr, or is it Fiverr? I don't know. I don't use it. Or networking events. That's what I did. I always found it a little bit easier to work with clients face-to-face, to meet them. And then that way you could get a feel for the client, and they could, see what your personality is like. I think it's an easier sell than online sometimes. Alex says, thank you. That's the answer I was looking for. Lots of love, bro. Just dropped my classes and learning online is best. Awesome, Alex. And again, Alex, if you want some more structure and guidance learning to code, check out the DevSlopes Academy, devslopes.com/apply. Let's see. How about the data structure and algorithms that asked at the interview? Yeah, those are good to know. It's important to learn those for sure. You can Google some of the most common interview tech questions, and you can usually find a good slew of questions, and then dive into those things and learn those things about the algorithms and the data structures. Elmo Gang Live. To enroll for the program, how old should I be? I don't know, any age. I think we've had students as young as 14 join the program. And then we've had students as old as like 55 or 60 join the program. Phil Orlando asks, how do I create Python portfolio on GitHub? You build Python projects and you push those up to your GitHub. Is learning DSA still relevant? Is that data science analytics? I'm not sure what that stands for. I think it might be data science analytics, but it can be. I mean, it depends on the job. Like, is your goal to do freelance work or get a job? I would look, what kind of data science analytic positions there are available, and then that should tell you if it's relevant or not. Let's see, Mig Bemery, you did not answer my question. Did I miss it? Let me scroll up here. Let's find your question. Oh, it's right here. I did skip it. My apologies. All right, let's check this out. I'm quite familiar with HTML, but want to start doing big things with advanced web development. How do I start the easy way? Patrick from Great Nigeria. Welcome, Patrick. Sorry I missed your question here. So you want to dive into start doing big things with advanced web development. So after you've learned, your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and you're proficient with that, dive into a front-end technology like React or Vue. I always recommend React. Maybe I'm a little bit, I love React. I work with it every single day. I've worked with Vue, but I've fallen in love with React. So I would choose a front-end technology like that, and then build some full stack applications. After you get familiar with React, dive into the Mern stack, which is Mongo, Express, React, and Node. And the cool thing is those are backend technologies like Mongo, Express, and Node. Mongo's the database. Using Node, it's all done with JavaScript. So you don't have to go learn some crazy backend technology, but start building a CRUD app. And basically that's an app that works with the database, create, read, update, delete. And you could start building projects like a Slack clone app or a Discord clone app. You could build an Uber clone app, maybe use like Firebase for real-time database updates. So do something like that, and that'll really push your skills into more advanced web development. Let me know if that answered your question. All right, TikTok, we're gonna hop over here in just a bit here. Let's see. So for the web program, what languages do you teach? So we cover HTML, CSS, JavaScript, ES6. We dive into React, like way deep into React and React hooks. And then we dive into the backend where you'll be working with Mongo Express and Node. You're going to be building your own APIs. And then we'll dive into some CSS preprocessors like Sass. So everything you need, you're going to learn in this academy, which will prepare you 100% to be ready to take on paid freelance work or to get a job. All right. Everything from like learning the terminal and version control, all of that is covered in the Web Academy. Plus, you get to work with me. I'll be your mentor and your coach. I will work with you until you land 100% success. What is your opinion about Coursera and LinkedIn Learning? I think both of those kind of give you an introductory, like, hey, this is what coding is, but I do not think at all it will teach you what you need to learn to be successful with programming. It's just a very good intro to programming to get an idea of what it is, but I don't think there's a lot of practical use from it. All right, awesome. Mig Bamir, I'm glad I was able to answer that question. Sweet. Is there anything you wish you had learned sooner in your career? Yes. I think the biggest thing that I wish I would have learned, or maybe it's a habit that I wish I would have learned, or a resource, is reading documentation. I know it sounds so insanely boring, but I promise you, you will not learn a programming language more effectively than going through the documentation, because you could do YouTube tutorials or courses on Udemy all day long, but how do you know that you're programming with the best practices, right? How do you know what you're learning is even practical for real world stuff? Documentation is going to point you in the right direction of exactly, this is how this technology works. And then you can do some tutorials, but you've got to get out of tutorials. The other thing I wish I would have learned sooner than later was freaking get out of tutorials. You got to stop doing tutorials. Do tutorials to have an introduction to whatever the technology is that you're learning. But the best way you're going to move forward with that from there, build your own projects. You have to build your own projects, and you can't build them from a tutorial, because a project is going to teach you how to think like a developer. It's going to teach you how to problem solve. You are not learning problem solving skills with tutorials. All right. That's not practical for real world work. When you take on a freelance project or go work for some company, you're not going to sit there and watch tutorials, because these projects are going to be very unique to the client or the company. All right. You've got to learn how to problem solve on your own and stop the flipping tutorials at some point. You've got to let go. All right. Baby cubs got to leave the den. You ask, should I learn HTML first to learn HTML5? No, they're like the same thing. I mean, yes, there's different versions of HTML, but everything nowadays is HTML5. There's just a few new features in HTML5, but HTML5 is the thing. It's been around forever. Just learn HTML5. That's the industry standard. All right, I'm going to hop over here to TikTok for a little bit. What time is it? Holy smokes, I have been rambling for 30 minutes already. That's insane. All right, let's check out some questions from TikTok. What's going on, TikTok? All right, so KO, so you did say that you did text. Okay. Reach out to Nathan again, nathan@devslopes.com. All right, Blesteco5. What is more important, the college degree or the skills for the job? Skills for the job down. Do not waste your time with let's see. Okay, I don't know if you're talking about software development in general, but hands down, you do not need a college degree, a computer science degree to code. I'm a self-taught developer, and I went from self-taught to working at Dell as a full stack engineer for several years. At the end of the day, all an employer cares about is, can you code or can you not code? All right, that's all they care about. They don't care about a computer science degree. When I applied for a position at Dell, it said 7 years experience with JavaScript. It said 5 years experience with React. Well, guess what? I had 3 years experience with JavaScript and 1 year with React. But when I interviewed, I got through the tech questions. I got through the coding stuff. They wanted to check out my portfolio. They liked the way that I wrote code, and they hired me. All right, so a computer science degree, in my experience, isn't going to give you any leg up necessarily. Oh, that was the other thing. This Dell position, it said they wanted a computer science degree. I didn't have one. So you need the skills. College, in my experience, I have friends and family who went to college for a computer science degree. I didn't personally go to college for a computer science degree. From my experience and from what they've told me is, college teaches a lot of theory and depth, but it's little hands-on experience, and you need the skills for the job. And college doesn't teach you the practical skills that you need to be successful in a job. They just don't. They're not going to teach you about the terminal, version control, how to use the node package manager. Okay, those 3 things that I listed off are core basics in any development position. All right. Let's see, what else do we have here? Tips on where to find junior iOS jobs. I'm new graduate and it's been very hard. So the first thing is don't look for a junior iOS job. Just look for an iOS job, okay? Ignore the junior. Get the junior out of there, okay? Get it out of there. Just look for an iOS job. And, you know, I just mentioned how I got this position at Dell, and the requirements were like way up here, and my skills, like experience, was down here, and I still got the job. I didn't Google any, and this was a senior position, and I wouldn't have considered myself a senior engineer at the time when I applied for this job. I would say I was just right above junior, and they were looking for a senior position, but I still applied for it. The requirements were here, my experience was here, and they still hired me. All right, what else do we have here? Cold 187 says, I want to learn front end. That's awesome. Are you talking about front end, web, Android, iOS? If you want to learn the front end on web, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, then choose a front end technology like React or Vue. If you're doing this with Swift or like iOS, you're going to learn Swift. If you want to do Android development, choose Kotlin. Let's see. So tips on where to find junior jobs. I would, again, get rid of the junior word. Check out like Indeed or LinkedIn. There's also another website. I think it's called Monster or Cybercoder or something that you can apply for jobs there as well. How many years to become a senior software engineer? So on paper, when a company says senior software engineer, usually it's around 5 to 7 years. Jose asks, where do I work currently? So I'm Jason. I'm a full stack engineer here at DevSlopes. We are a learn to code academy. And so we have different academies for iOS, Android, and web development. You get mentor and coaching. You know, we have the whole academy, you know, bootcamp online experience. We have week live meetups where we talk code, tech, freelance jobs. I will grade and review your code, which is amazing. I wish somebody would have done that to my code, you know, when I was learning to code years ago. But I will review your code and say, yes, this is a good practice. Hey, you know, this is kind of a bad practice. Here's a better way that you could actually do this. And then we do the career coaching, and I will personally work with you until you land paid work or a job guaranteed. That's all we want here at DevSlopes, is we want students to be successful. We're not one of those, you know, boot camps where you herd everybody in and then you teach them something and shove it down the throat and then, you know, kick them out on their own for whatever they, you know, their next steps. You have lifetime access. We're going to work with you until you're successful, period. You disappeared. Mr. Cranberry Chips. That's a cool username. What does a data scientist do? So a data scientist, they're going to do some programming, all right, but a lot of it is, you know, data analytics that they're going to be, you know, working with, analyzing different data. Then they're going to be working with backend engineers, but it's more so on the analytics side of things. Let's see, RT Ager, should I study data structures or algorithms, or what type of coding challenges should I practice? So both of those are really important. I would say in my experience at jobs, like data structures is probably more important. It's going to make you architect your code better, all right? And it's going to make you write better code. Algorithms are cool, but I would say in most cases, 90% of the jobs, they don't require any insane rocket scientist algorithms. It's just your basic math like algebra or lower. Like, that's it. I mean, when I was working at Dell, we had this, we called it the calculation engine, and it had some intense stuff going on behind the scenes, but the algorithms didn't get very complex. Like, again, it used, I would say, the most basic algebra algorithms that you can think of, like insanely basic. So they're good to know, but you don't need to get complex or crazy with them. Unless you want to work for NASA and, you know, build rovers to land on Mars. That's probably going to be a little bit intense. Ian, my 10-year-old knows JavaScript and Lua. That's awesome. That's fantastic. That is so cool at that age that they're getting into programming. Like if that's something they enjoy and a road they want to pursue, that is like the road to success. Like by the time they're of age to like get employment, and if they have coding under their belt and some projects, that's amazing. So hats off to you. I think that's fantastic. Definitely support them for it. Let's see. And you've been doing software development for 10 years now, and these young kids have it so easy. They do. Some of these newer programming languages, they're such a top level language, right? It's not a low level like C++ or anything. So the syntax is a lot easier to pick up. So very cool stuff. Hey, everybody, I've been rambling for like 40 minutes almost. So I'm going to maybe take a couple more questions here, and then we're going to wrap this up. Eggsy says, I like your cut, G. Thanks. Yep, had to tame the mullet. Let's see, Dopey. I know basics of JavaScript, but why am I struggling to read the code sometimes? I'm just lost in it. So that's kind of the point that you need to spend some more time just learning the basics. But one of the things that really helps is having a mentor or a coach, getting some more structure and guidance in this. And again, I'm a mentor and a coach teaching students how to code every single day here at DevSlopes. So check out the DevSlopes Academy. You can go to devslopes.com/apply, and you can check it out there. All right, few questions from YouTube, and then we're going to call this a day. Let's see, and I'm not going to be able to get to everybody's questions, so I apologize, but I'm going to be doing the same time tomorrow. All right, let's see what questions we have here. So Abdu asks, how long will it take me to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React from zero to be good front-end developer? So Abdu, we have the DevSlopes Academy. It's a 16-week boot camp. I mean, at the same time, it's at your own pace. So some students go through it a little faster. Some, it takes a little bit longer. But if you want the fast track to learning how to code, I would check out the DevSlopes Web Academy. I will work with you personally to learn how to code. I will set you on the right path to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React from zero to hero, and even help you land paid work. But most students that I work with will complete this anywhere between 16 and 20 weeks, and they're getting jobs, paid jobs at that point. So devslopes.com/apply. If you're doing it on your own, it could take longer. It could take, up close to a year. Like I'm a self-taught developer. I didn't get my first actual programming job until, let's see, I think it was 10 months after trying to learn how to code on my own because I was lost. I didn't have any direction. I didn't have a mentor or a coach to, tell me what was good to learn or put me on more of a guided learning path versus just wasting my time in tutorials and getting lost in it. All right, I'm gonna just jump down here to the bottom. Let's see, One Man Voice on YouTube asks, how to know you have mastered and you need to move on to the next step, like when to shift from JavaScript to learning React and when to shift from front end to back end to know this? That's a fantastic question. This is the question that I'm going to end with, and then you asked a follow-up question here at the bottom about the price of the bootcamp. So first off, you don't need to have mastered these technologies in order to move on to the next. The reality is, you should be proficient in it. So once you've learned HTML, CSS, and you can build a mobile responsive design, like a website that's mobile responsive and it looks good, then move on into JavaScript. Once you've moved into JavaScript and started learning the basic concepts of JavaScript, start integrating JavaScript with HTML and CSS and start building interactive websites. Once you have become proficient in JavaScript, and you can build code that can think and that can do something, then choose a front-end technology like React or Vue. All right, once you've familiarized yourself with React or Vue, one of these front-end technologies, and you can start building projects, go find some projects to build in React. Once you can build those and you kind of know the tools that are available with these different technologies, then it's actually a really smooth transition into the backend. A lot of people think it's really daunting with web development to move into backend, but what's so cool is move into using Node for the backend, and Node allows you to write JavaScript on the server. So during this whole learning process of yours, you've been learning JavaScript, you've been solidifying those JavaScript skills working with React, and then it's a fairly seamless transition into the backend technology, because then you'll be working with Node. And then you'll use something like Express and then MongoDB for the backend. Now you're a full stack engineer. And then once you can build a CRUD application, so something that this is a full stack application, create, read, update, delete, something from a database, some type of a record. Once you can build a CRUD application, then you know that you are ready to start taking on freelance projects or to start applying for jobs. All right. So you don't have to master it, just become proficient. Over time, you'll begin to master these things. Okay, last question here. You asked, what is the price of our boot camp? So the price of the boot camp, we don't list it online. It's usually about the it's the price of a semester in college, kind of in that ballpark. And we have so many different pricing options, and so pricing options are going to allow you different types of payments and payment structures, whether you want to pay all up front, you want to split it into X amount of payments, you know what. So go to devslopes.com/apply, and you'll be set up with a free career coaching call to see if the academy is even for you. All right. All right. I'm going to wrap this up, everybody. You all have been fantastic. I know there's questions that I haven't been able to get to, but hop on the same time tomorrow. All right. This is Central Time. It's 3:30 Central Time. All right. Again, I'm Jason with devslopes.com. I'm a full stack engineer, and I help teach students how to learn and how to code and to land paid work guaranteed. You can do all this at the DevSlopes Academy, devslopes.com/apply. And as always, stay positive, keep calm, and code on. See you later, everybody.